Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Chess Lifestyle Training. We are up to day 14, so I guess that's 2 weeks now of training every day, which is pretty great. And we are up to 2,290 subscribers, so let's see what that translates to. Okay, still firmly in 38 minutes, good stuff. Okay, we're going to warm up with some chess neurons, and then we're going to switch to our puzzle streak. I did reset my computer, so I can confirm that the puzzle streak does save and you don't have to be worried about it resetting everything. But yeah, I'm pretty much going to have to just train this 38 minutes and then bounce because I've got a chess lesson to teach straight after. So okay, let me just make sure this is all working. Okay, perfect. Let's get into it. Right. So, we're going to start off with a few easy chess neurons, and then do some puzzle streak, and then probably we're going to make a mistake sooner or later, so we'll work out what to do after that. Okay, so as always, evaluate, and then come up with some candidates. Okay. I'll turn this down a bit, sorry. Just a sec. Yeah, okay. I mean, this one's a hard one to have candidates because I think there's only one move that makes any sense at all. So, okay, you receive a notification. Nice. Good stuff, Yanis. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, so for this exercise, the evaluation is pretty simple as well. We've got a light squared bishop against light squared bishop, and all of our pawns are on dark squares, so our bishop is slightly better than theirs. Our king is also slightly more active than their king, and yeah, pawn structure is equal, material is equal. So basically the only move that really comes to mind is to play the move g5, because either black will, okay, let's say they take once. Either black will have to give up their g-pawn in order to keep the king active, or if the king goes away, then the white king gets active, and there's no downside of pushing this pawn because we are literally pushing the pawn to a dark square. So I think this has to be the answer. Yeah, and there doesn't seem to be anything here. So I guess black will keep defending, we'll make advances. I don't know, maybe black can try and use the bishop to defend. And then it's just a matter of time that white finds a way in. Like maybe they start immediately and then reroute this bishop. Something like this. So let's have a look. Slowly improve the bishop's position to target black's queenside pawns. Exactly. Yeah, this is pretty much what I said. Okay, very nice, very nice. Cannot see the board. Thank you, Carolina, for flagging that up. I somehow managed to get this wrong every single time, so appreciate the message. Okay, let's do one more. Yeah, how are you, Carolina, and how are you, Yanis? As always, your camera's in the way again. Oh man. I mean, it is on the right side with Lichess, so, you know, if only the chess websites could settle on one position of their boards, eh? Oh, one more update from me, actually. I don't know, I think I mentioned last stream, but I played in a league match yesterday, and I played the same guy I've played 3 times now. He's like a 2250, 2300 player, and I lost again. I've lost 3 out of 3, and this time, like, it was actually just so triggering because I just got completely outplayed from start to finish, and there were, like, moves in the game where I felt like his move was just bad, like positionally bad. I was like happy to see it, and then somehow it all works out, and it just happened like maybe 2 or 3 times, and it just gave me this feeling that like I just don't understand chess, right? But okay, I guess this is a sign of a strong player. And another aspect that I was quite disappointed with myself was that I actually predicted exactly what he would play, but I didn't prepare properly. Like, I kind of thought, okay, he will play that, so I had a very brief look over my lines and not really thinking about it. But had I actually properly prepared it, then I could have got like an opening advantage pretty easily. And okay, now I know for next time, if this like exact setup comes up, I don't think I'll forget. But yeah, it kind of feels like, I've got so many things going on, right? Like, I just couldn't get my head in the game to like properly like give it my best against this guy. And okay, against a 2250, 2300, if you're not like in your best frame of mind, like best frame of competitive mind, I mean, like, yeah, it's gonna be really brutal. But okay, that was my game yesterday, and still we're gonna keep training and keep trying to improve. So okay, what's the evaluation? I think this training is actually really good practice of like refocusing when you're not in like a focused mindset, because I'm literally squeezing in the session like in the tiny amount of time that I have available, and yeah, my head's not in it at all. So it's like I think forcing yourself to like focus is like a important skill to practice as well. Right. Okay, I mean, I finished my evaluation. I came up with my first candidate move, and it already looks really, really good, right? But okay, I'll try and think harder and just make sure I haven't missed any other like useful candidates that need to be considered. My first move for the record was this 96, and maybe okay, another candidate that could be considered is maybe adding some pressure here. But I think there's some very concrete reasons why 96 is just a very strong move. So, okay, materials even, pawn structure slightly different. But okay, black's a long way away from making like some minority attack. And a very important thing to note about the position is that it's open, right? So when you have an open position, the position is easier to play when you have the bishop pair. So knight d6 trades a bishop by force, giving this fork, or black can eradicate it like this. And okay, probably bishop takes looks the most sense, like it doesn't feel right to activate the rook so soon, although okay, if you activate the rook, perhaps you can double the rooks on the file, and this could be useful as well, whereas the bishop kind of forces knight e7. So to be honest, I would just take with the bishop, and then I can always drop back to a3 and double a bit later, and it feels a bit weird to like double so far into the opponent's territory. It feels kind of wrong, so I'd kind of want the extra pressure on this situation. So I think I'd take with the bishop. Okay, interesting. So I'm curious. Okay, it doesn't mention what happens if the rook were to take. But let's have a look what the difference is. So the computer reckons this is plus 1 point something. And if rook takes, let's have a look. Okay, much less. Interesting. So why is this actually much less? So even if knight e7, rook dd1. Oh, rook dd1. Okay, what about rook fd1? Ah, this is a little trick. So yeah, I mean, although I didn't see this trick, I kind of had this intuition that the rook is a bit vulnerable, right? So I think like this is also what's important, like building this intuition so you don't even have to see such a maneuver, but you already feel that there's something wrong. And the very nice thing is that chess is an intuitive game as well, and these intuitions shouldn't be underestimated. So, you know, this even if I don't see this, it's not a problem. Like I could make the right call without it. So, yeah, that's great. Okay, let's do one final one of these, and then we'll switch to the puzzle streak. Okay, we have our favorite London system. Black has tried to jazz things up by castling queenside. Okay, let's evaluate. Again, in evaluating, a move jumps out at me. Okay, so to me, materials even. Perhaps we're slightly more... Well, actually, no, I'd say we're equal in development, because although it takes 2 moves to develop this bishop, whereas only 1 for us, black is already castled and we're not, right? So development is equal, materials equal, but the castles are going to be on opposite sides, so that changes the dynamic of the position. And in this position, okay, with some candidate moves, I would probably consider bishop b5, just adding pressure and threatening this knight move. I would also consider the move h3, so that my bishop has a home. That's probably my main candidate moves, because I feel like it's a bit too early to like be attacking with a pawn storm. There's not any hooks we can latch onto either, so it feels like piece play might be more successful. And I don't see why we should play so passively with bishop e2. So the question is, okay, if bishop b5, is there any concern about like our bishop being lost? I don't think it's the end of the world to play bishop g3, and even we can play like bishop g5 and maybe... but actually no, we've castled opposite sides, so we don't really want to provoke these pawns coming forward, right? So that's a very important point. So bishop b5, if knight here, maybe we can just head into this immediately. And if like queen e6, protecting everything, maybe... Yeah, we can damage the king side, and this has to be compensation. I mean, we can always drop back, and it's not the end of the world to lose this bishop pair. So I think bishop b5 has to be strong. If bishop b5 and they try and unravel immediately, I guess we could play knight g5, and this is weak. So I think bishop b5, it's the time to play it. I don't know what you guys think, but yeah, I think this is the move. Okay, so yeah, queen e6, knight g5, exactly, and if e6, okay, I didn't consider this, not that I don't think it's so important. Yeah, knight e5 is the point, and we weaken the king side, exactly, and yeah, queen a4 is what I had in mind. And okay, exactly, we can see that white is using piece play to attack this king, not necessarily storming the pawns. Although I think storming the pawns would also be a reasonable way, now that we've actually got some targets, like this pawn especially, to latch onto. So okay, 3 out of 3, not a bad start. Welcome Alvin to the stream. Let's now move on to our puzzle streak. So yeah, Alvin, you're exactly right. I restarted my computer so it wouldn't die, and we indeed have kept our 48 streak. So let's keep it going. I mean, I immediately just see this move and want to play it, but okay, it's not a check or something, so maybe there's like some, you know, some way out of it, which there probably is, right? So okay, we should always evaluate first. So really get a full grasp of the position. Okay, so let me tell you my evaluation. in terms of king safety, actually both kings are quite weak. Probably black's king I feel is slightly weaker because despite having these pawns as potential protection, the queen and bishop are just such an attacking force. I mean, okay, if it was queen and knight, I think it would literally be game over. But queen and bishop, okay, maybe there's some hope, right? So, very, very dangerous situation. In terms of actual material, we have 2 rooks and 2 pawns for queen and bishop. So, okay, this both adds up to 12. But, okay, I mean, yeah, the actual points don't really matter. It's more like what is the material actually doing. So we ultimately have 2 pieces against 2 pieces as well. So that's kind of worth keeping in mind. In terms of pawn structure, we have this pass pawn, which could be very useful if, let's say, I don't know, we trade some material. This could be like a serious asset. It's also worth noting that this pawn is fixed on a light square, so it won't be as vulnerable to this bishop. This pawn is also on a dark square, and actually both of these pawns, so maybe this bishop is well placed in order to keep hold of these pawns. So I'd say that's enough of an evaluation. I mean, dynamically speaking, white has a checkmate in 1 threat, so that should be, of course, made note of as well. So now it comes to our candidate moves. We should have a goal with the position. So I'm going to aim very high and say that we like win big material or win checkmate. Like this is my ambition with my initial calculation. So definitely look at all your checks. Okay, and I think to be honest, well, like when you see a candidate move that's like so strong, I think it's okay not to consider others. Like you can indulge yourself in looking into it, because if it just wins, it just wins. And I mean, you know, you should trust your intuition. When is the time to keep looking? And I think f5 looks extremely strong, right? Because if the queen takes the pawn, well then we're just up an exchange and pawns and we're winning. If we play f5 and they come onto anywhere, actually, we can give a check. And okay, if we have this position and they block, well then we can just take, and again we're winning. So it looks like f5 is just completely game over. Yeah, and they've had the sack. Okay, so actually a very easy puzzle in the end. But okay, the evaluation also just helps you have confidence in the solution. Oh, I realized actually having my face on the right doesn't block everything, as I thought. Okay, I'll move myself back to the left for Lichess. Okay, let's keep going. So, okay, white's turn to move. I mean, you would think you have to take this rook, right? There's literally no other choice. Like, you move the king, and what do you expect? You're going to lose the game. So we have to take. Okay, and now this is the real start of the position. So it was with a check, so there wasn't any time to push. And now the question is how to make progress. So again, let's evaluate this position, and then come up with our move. Okay, so materials even. Pawn structure wise, well, king safety doesn't really matter, they're just kings on the board. Pawn structure wise, okay, black maybe has the potential to create a pass pawn. White already has a pass pawn. But okay, we don't have to be so afraid. Like, white can maybe take here. But then, okay, whenever we have a pawn in front of a king, when we're trying to convert like a pure king and pawn against king endgame, this would be a draw. So for instance, if we allow this push, and we take here and just trade everything, then this would be a draw, right? So we've got to be a bit careful not to give ourselves a draw on pawn endgame. And yeah, with our calculation, we should be looking at like what our goal is, and I think to win, right? Like, I think it's very easy to draw this position, but we want to win this. So candidate moves could include maybe giving a check, maybe bringing the king over, maybe boxing out the king like this. So I think maybe these are some candidate moves. I would really want to look at this one first, actually, because my thought is if they come here and I take and they take and I take, this should be a winning pawn endgame, right? Because the king can't take the opposition. We can come up to here and this should be winning. So if here, does black have any other tries? Like if they push, well then we just take. So this looks like it's completely winning to me. Yeah, there's literally nothing to be done. This is just completely winning. So I think this is just a move. So that, again, like if you calculate your first candidate move and it's winning, well then winning is pretty decisive, right? No need to consider other candidates. So, I mean, the only time you would consider other candidates is if it's like a win that's not actually so clear. Then you might want to keep looking to see if there's actually an easier win. But okay, if you can calculate up to here, and yeah, just to make sure that everyone understands, king is in front of a pawn, and if black could play this move, it would be a draw because of the opposition. But instead, white can come forward, and yeah, wherever we go, we can push this pawn. And all we need to remember is not to play a move like this, where black will take the opposition, and then it's a draw. So we would need to like make sure black can't take the opposition. And yeah, at this moment, then black has to pick a side, and we can push the pawn home. And just for the record, it's very important to remember that, let's say this was the position, and black took the opposition here. When the king is on the 6th rank, this is still win. So even though black takes the opposition, as long as it's on the 6th rank, then actually this is still winning, because this is the one time where black can keep the opposition, and white can magically just push this pawn and promote. So normally this doesn't happen, because if we go back to this moment, where was it? What were we saying? Like, oh no, I messed this up. Okay, I didn't want this to be long. Okay, let me do this. Yeah, if we get this position and black takes the opposition and we push the pawn, the point is like the king isn't forced to go here and we win. No, the king can just go back, and then we have this classic case of a draw. So yeah, make sure that you're completely certain about these subtleties. Right, okay, next position, black to play, what to do. So again, evaluate the position, don't just play d5 because we want to win a queen. Okay, so what's going on? Okay, I think I've done my evaluation. Time to think of some candidates. And of course, guys, whenever you think of a move or come up with an answer, you're welcome to chat. Okay, we reached the key square. That's a nice, yeah, nice terminology from Dvoretsky or maybe other endgame books as well. And welcome, Lucas, to the stream. Glad to have you here. And yeah, we are continuing our puzzle streak. This one's a bit hard. I'm onto the candidate moves, and I'm not like completely just like, you know, spotting some simple answer. Okay, I've kind of got two candidate moves. So what I would say about the position is that we're a pawn down, and king safety wise, both of us need to move the bishop before we can complete development. I would say, however, that we are slightly better developed because we've got two minor pieces developed, and white's got this queen developed, but it's actually kind of a target, right, as I was saying. Or maybe even a target like this. So that brings me to my two candidate moves, so both d5 and knight d4. So I'm going to look at knight d4 first, just because, yeah, there's, let's say, no way to stop this, and this would be great, right? But probably there's some move. So let's say white develops and defends at the same time. Well, then maybe now d5? And where can this queen actually go? Only square is queen here. Nope, that's not a square because queen takes. So, aha. This isn't actually a move because I think d5 traps the queen. Whereas if we go d5 immediately, this queen has some squares, right? It can go queen b3. And maybe on this move, does white have some surprising blow? It's tough to say. So if d5... maybe queen a4. As weird as that looks, since the queen just came here. But okay, this was played between two 1700s, so you can't necessarily trust this move. But if d5, maybe queen a4, covering the square, and then maybe b5. And again, that looks like that traps the queen. So, I don't really know. Oh, this is tough. What's the difference? I mean, if this is working, then it should be played, right? Because this feels like it's got a few more options. Like, I don't know, maybe... How do they even defend this? Like, this move is still a fork. The queen is literally trapped. Yeah, and then on bishop d3 we can push. So if we push immediately... If white goes here... Maybe white could take, but it's not enough in this position. The rook's protected. I don't know if I'm missing something really obvious here. Like, I'm actually going to be really sad if this is the one that stumps us, because... So how do we pick between two good-looking candidate moves when probably only one is working? There's going to be some kind of refutation to one of the moves, and I just don't see it. Maybe the point is that this winning in exchange, because probably the knight will be trapped, maybe this isn't like as good as, let's say, trapping the queen. I'm not going to look at chat just in case like the answer is there. But you're welcome to give your answers. Maybe the problem with d5 is white can play b4. Right, and now the difference is that if I try the same tactic, maybe there's queen b2. Now that's a defense. Right, so if knight here first and bishop d3 and now this move? Oh, but still b4 is a move. Okay, so I managed to find a refutation for both my lines. Right, knight here and then d5 and b4. Might just be very, very strong and annoying. And if that's the case, then I think we're going to have to go d5 first, right? Because this can't be good for us. Whereas if we play d5 first and then b4, at least we can take it, right? So I think this is the problem. On bishop d3, there's this defense. So I think we have to go d5. Yeah. And now I presume this is the point. And no matter what white takes, we're going to be up material. So okay, this one was by no means easy. Yeah. Yeah, this was actually very tough. Because knight d4, and I guess b4 is the only defense. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Had to find that move. Okay. What are people saying? Hardest difficulty on Lichess is so hard to solve. Even Stockfish needs to think for a while. Right. I think knight d4 is more accurate than d5 as the queen escapes the fork. Both seem winning still. Right. The knight sacks itself after b5, I guess. So still winning for black, but not as bad. Still winning for black, but not as bad. Was this a different line with b5? My brain is hurting too much from that exercise. Main difference is knight d4 first restricts the queen, but allows b4. Nice, Janus. Nice. Okay, so we got there. Just about. But yeah, these puzzles are tricky. Okay. Right, let's do another one. Evaluate first, as always, and then try and find the move. You know what? I should have actually. Let me open this. I might save this for some of my students. Actually, this was a really nice one. I'll keep this for later. Because I think a lot of my students, I guess naturally, are probably going to end up a bit like me, and you know, I'm quite an intuitive player, right? So I can imagine a lot of my students like really hating that puzzle. So more the reason to give it to them, right? But okay, let's evaluate. Again, this is a weird position where it feels like there's only one move. So okay, a few things to note. So firstly is that these pawns are all isolated. However, this one is a passer, and actually these pawns are doing a pretty good job of containing this break, right? Which is white's only hope. In terms of activity, maybe white's king is even more active than our king. And it feels like it's kind of critical to play king d6 to make sure that this king doesn't advance any further. But we do have to be careful, right? Because it feels like, you know, even if this is losing a pawn, it does create a passed pawn. So let's say if we come king d6 and we come to king c5, we need to be very, very careful that like b4 isn't g4 isn't something. And I guess it's not, because we can take. But okay, we've got to watch out for them pushing as well. But at the same time, is it really something, right? Because here we can take, if they push, we've got a protected passer as well. So that means we can start running all the way back to win this pawn. And if white tries to win this one, well, then our pawn is going to run, right? So I think this is a very risky move to play. So let's say we do this, right? And they push, and we take, and we take. And they have this passer. Well, the passer is much closer to our king this time, and we'd be fine. So okay, let's say after king here, they just sit with king e6, then we could probably push. And again, maybe now they can try pushing. And takes pawn on. But again, we can just play king here, and we're going to be winning this. We are within the square. So at what point are we not winning this, right? So if let's say king d6 and king here, and we push the pawn. And let's say they come back again, and we come here. Is this going to be too far? Because we got to be careful, because at some point, let's say we give a check, and the king comes here, like back to the square, and we've got a pawn here. And we bring our king here. And now they push. Now this would be a problem, I think. Or maybe not still. I think we're always in time, actually, just to get back in time. So, in any case, we have to come here. There's literally no other candidate moves. This is just dropping a pawn, which just cannot be good. So, it has to be king d6. Oh, and they just block like that? Aha. And they're trying to, like, cleverly zugzwang us. Oh my god. Okay, this should have been a candidate response. Even though we didn't have a choice, though, right? So, like, even if we saw this move, you know, we had to go for this anyway. But okay, now we've got a serious choice to make between these two moves. And definitely, it feels like the only try we have is to come out. Because if we come in, this feels really lost to me. Like, yeah, the king cannot keep defending. They can drop this pawn, they can come back. And I guess the question is, oh, is that a draw? Is that a draw? Like, if I push the pawn, the king takes back and I come here. So maybe we've got a draw there. So, are we losing if we play king here? Okay, so they would play king here. Well, in fairness, we could then push the pawn, and we have the exact same scenario, right? Where king takes and then we come back, and this is a draw. So king c6, we still have the same draw. So, by process of elimination, it has to be king c6, because we at least have the draw, which is the same draw, but we've got the added flexibility that maybe this is winning, right? So we should play king c6. And okay, we have this draw if we want it, which may or may not be a draw, but I feel like it would be. And now the question is, do we go for it? So if we don't go for it and we play king here, they would take her pawn, most naturally. And then we would push. They would probably come here, I come here. And then they push the pawn, I come here, push the pawn, I come here, push the pawn. I queen, they queen, and my king is opposite their king, so I can give a check and then skewer. So, and it's very important actually that I make sure that my king is on this square, so I'm not like getting queen with check. So I think this is actually winning. So just to check, if takes pawn up, king here, pawn on, pawn on. What if king here? I have to go king here. And I don't think we lose a tempo or anything. They push the pawn. And we have the same deal. So what if they actually come all the way to king here to stop the skewer at the end, right? So let's say king c5 and we take, they take, we push, king here, pawn push. We push the pawn, they come king here, we come king here, they push the pawn. We push the pawn, they come king here, we come king here, they push the pawn. And the point is we queen with check this time. So they're not even getting able to queen, so we don't need the skewer. So I think for that reason, yeah, king c5 is just winning. Nice. Okay, we got it. So, probably isn't worth trying to interpret my thoughts, to be honest. I need to do some practice for a classical game later though. Okay, nice. Well, best of luck for that. On g4, we should always take on g4 and play h4. Right. I have an interesting position for you to look at, Michael, from my game the other day. Right. Maxime, didn't I reply to your game actually? Didn't you post it on the Heflump Hunters group chat? I think I wrote like a long answer and I don't think I got a response. So I'm not sure if like maybe you haven't seen it or something, or maybe we're talking about something different. Looking at king d6, h4. Okay, so you spotted this consideration, Josh. Then wherever the black king moves, the white king gets in. This is a different one. Okay, Maxime, I need an answer for the first one, and then I will give the other one a go. Yeah, no problem. Right, king c6, king d5, and a squad the pawn. Right, exactly what we showed. Very nice. And guys, I mean, there's 30 seconds left, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, I'm pretty looking forward to this chess lesson, but I have a chess lesson to teach. So I think I'm not going to click for the next one because I'm not going to have the time to solve it. So we'll leave it at 52. We have managed to survive again. I really thought the last exercise was going to screw us over. It almost did. I think it was very tricky. But okay, we've survived. So any final questions for myself? You are welcome to ask away. It could be about me. It could be about your chess. It could be about your training. I think I will give like 1 or 2 answers and then I've got to bounce. Right. That puzzle was just a blitz game, I see. Yeah, I remember now. Actually, Maxime, how is the classical grind going? Like, do you think all these games that you're playing, it's paying off? Or do you think it's like actually overkill and you're feeling a bit burnt out? What's been the vibe? So for anyone that doesn't know, Maxime is a friend of mine who's actually playing the most chess out of anyone I know right now. So it's pretty amazing. Like he's playing in like 6 different leagues or something. And yeah, it's an interesting like idea. I mean, definitely for myself, like whenever I've had like tournaments back to back, like the second tournament or third tournament, normally I do even better because like I'm just warmed up. So you know, if you're constantly in the zone of classical chess, yeah. January's been tough chess wise, but also been very busy with work. Okay, yeah, this is the issue, right? Like if you could play classical chess and that's the only thing you do, then for sure you're gonna make some big gains. But yeah, it's difficult. Working on stuff. But back to chess this week. Okay. Best of luck. That's cool. Oh, Hastings was awful. I see. Did you play in the Masters or did you play in the AM or PM like mini Congress events? Yeah, I completely forgot that Hastings was a thing actually this year. Um, but I think I may have briefly looked at some point, and I thought that yeah, it looks more underrated this year than when we played last year. So it's crazy actually because like after the pandemic, like when everyone started playing chess again, there was this kind of like general feeling that like so many underrated players have joined the game, and it makes just like growth really hard. And everyone was kind of saying like all like the veterans like me were all saying like give it a couple years, it'll level out, and then things will be better, right? But I think things just keep getting worse because chess keeps getting more popular. Players are somehow improving without playing as much, and their rating is like lagging behind. And yeah, it's just been so tough, so tough. Weekend Open, okay. I've been on tilt the past few days, losing 110 elo in 3 days. You're not talking. Oh, okay. So Spacely, you have the same like color and like a similar like length name as Maxim. So I thought like Maxim was saying you lost 110 elo in 3 days of this weekend congress, and I was like, there's no way you lose 110 elo in one weekend tournament. I mean, I did come pretty close to these kind of feats, but 110 that's something else. Yeah, but so basically, I think like just I mean that 110 elo was just all in one bad session, right? And okay, going by my rule, which I told you yesterday, you should never lose more than 25 in one session. So I think just like start building your way back up. Try not to get too greedy when things are on a good form, and try to know when to cut your losses when things go bad. Okay, minus 20, I see. 4 draws and a loss. Ouch. Ouch, yeah. It's rough, though. It's rough. Like, yeah, these congresses are no joke. But okay, guys, I've got to head off and teach a lesson. But thank you guys all for coming and supporting the stream. Hope you learned something from the exercise as well, especially this dirty exercise that we had to try and solve. And I think that's all from me. So I guess see you guys tomorrow.